In Wish 3.7.04, we've changed the way that service plans show on the screen and how they are set up. We made quite a few interesting enhancements that a lot of people have been asking for, and I'm going to show those to you in this short video. The screen you're looking at now is a prior version of Wish, and we're looking specifically at a service plan tab of a client's. And on this tab, you can see various sections. You can see in this table here the list of the service plans, and then for each service plan you select, you see the list of components, and then for each component you select, you see the list or the content of that component. That has been one of the fundamental changes in the newest build of Wish, and I'll just pop that screen up for you. This is the same screen, but showing in the newest version of Wish. It's had a couple of enhancements here. You see the first thing you notice is a table that show the plans that the client has had some color coding added to it. And that's for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is we added a third type of plan. So previously we had a safety plan and a transition plan, and then of course you could have an other type of plan. We added an additional plan here called a work plan, and that's an example here. If I go to this client's, where you see the work plans, and they are showing in green, safety plans are showing in pink, and transition plans are showing in blue. So that is one of the key things, is we added some color to it so it was easier to spot the type of plans that you had. We've done a little bit of work as well with the labels to make it clearer. Let me just flip back to the old version for a moment. So under the old version, this would be how you would see the content of the safety plan or the transition plan or whatever. You pick the plan, and then your components would show in this table, and then for each component you would click on it to see the content of that. And if you wanted to print it, you'd use this print button up here. Also, if you wanted to add anything or change it, you would use these buttons here. Again, that's one of the big changes. What you see in this is the screen is much simpler, and basically if you select a plan here, it shows you all of the content of the plan as if it was a piece of paper, and you can scroll down and you can view different pieces of that. And at this point you can print the page, but you cannot change anything on that plan at this on this tab. And if you do want to change it, you now click on this view or modify details button, and when you click on that, it opens to this new screen. So this is brand new, it didn't exist before, and then for each one of these you can go down to the various components of that plan. This has done a couple things. One is it's given you more area to type in. Before it was kind of restricted because of the space that was available on the screen. So this gives us more space. And just like before, you can add a new component, or you can take an existing component and you can copy and replace it if you want. So if you want to cancel this one, for example, you can copy and replace it, and it will just go like that. So that's the way that you do that. And basically the replacement one is here, and now you can edit it. So that's very similar, other than the fact that it's changed in the way that you make modifications. One of the reasons we did that was to give you more room to type over here, which you now have. But the other reason that we did it for was because we wanted to give you the ability to add reviews. So review components are a different type of component. So previously, this was a component which just had some basic detail, and if later somebody wanted to change something, they would have to take ownership of it by using the copy and replace function. With the addition of review type components, it's a little bit different. You cannot delete it, you cannot remove it from the safety plan. You also do not take ownership to it. You can simply add to it. So it's basically to track progression, more so for tracking tasks that need to be done when doing a plan of any kind. So you can create a review piece to it. So for example, in here you can see I've got a review component, and in that review component I've got 6 parts. One is that I want this task to be completed, and down here it's telling me how much of that's been done. I can go to each of the parts of that review by going in here. So for example, we can put in a progress. To type in there now, I would type in, I started the process with the client, and we will continue on Thursday. So you can type something like that in there and add it to the review. You notice it goes down here and it's date and time stamped. Anybody can add into this. And then at some point, and so you just scroll through the various parts in here. And then at some point, when you feel that it's completed, as the worker, you would sign off that by closing that, saying, yes, that's been totally taken care of. And then lastly, a supervisor has the capability of coming in on a review component and signing off on that. And that's the intention. That's what you want. So basically, when all of these 6 review pieces have been completed and signed off by supervisor, what you see is this icon here. It's probably pretty small on your screen, but it's a little exclamation mark or a caution sign. But basically, as soon as all of that is done, and I'll just skip some process here, I'm just going to sign off as supervisor on all of these pieces. And I think I skipped the first one. Oh, no, it's done. So you see that I get a green check mark. So that shows me that that review component has been completed. So the review components are pretty powerful in terms of tracking what needs to be done with any plan. So you can create a review component. You can also go a little bit further. So let's talk about those work plans. So you can create work plans now, which are like a plan, but they're usually intended to be all review pieces. So basically, if I go and modify and review the details, I can see I've got 3 pieces that I want for this client's work plan to be done. Work plans are pretty significant because they are created automatically when the client comes into Shelter or comes into a program. So you design a work plan specific for Shelter or specific for a program. And then as staff complete the pieces, what they can come in here and do is they can sign off the various things that they have done. And eventually a supervisor can also sign off. So that's one of the big things with the work plans that has come into Wish. And I'll show you right here now. Along with those plans, what happens is now there is, under reports, there is the ability to go in to this new service plan state report. And this will show you all of the open plans that you've got at current and whether or not there's any issues with them. So you can see if there's some here with issues. In fact, if I click on this button, that will also include plans that are currently open, but there are no open review items on those. And so that's what this is telling me. So basically, if I see this one here, which is a transition plan, and it has 5 issues where lines need to be closed or signed off, I can click directly, I double click on that, and it opens directly to that. So you'll see now if I go through and I sign all of those pieces, and I'll just keep going through, I'll do each one of these. If I refresh this table now, you see it's gone down, it's closed some of those items on there that were open. So basically that's the way you can monitor that. Also, when it comes to work plans, one additional thing that you can do with work plans, in addition to signing off the individual pieces here, you can also sign off the plan in its entirety so that you know that that whole work plan has been completed. The intention of work plans is to give you the ability to make sure certain tasks and steps are done with client files when they come into service. And this might be important if you're seeking some accreditation of some sort, or you just want to validate that everything has been done properly and efficiently. And this will help you monitor that. Both it'll help the staff monitor that, also help the administrative side as well. You can also change this so you can change some filters in here, and it will change what's being displayed. If you're the worker of a certain program, if I'm the outreach worker and I just want to see work plans that are for outreach, for example, I can just look at those particular plans. So quite a bit that you can do in here with the filtering system. The setting up of the plans has changed a little bit as well. So let's just go in, I'll show you how we do that. So I'm going to scroll down to the service, where the service plan codes are set up. It's almost the same as what you had. The only difference is on this drop down, where previously you only had safety plan, transition plan, and other, you can now create a plan that is designated as a work plan. And work plans again are a little bit different because it allows supervisor to sign off on a work plan. The big changes come where you set up the components for the service plan. And basically, now all components are attached to a specific plan. So for example, if I were to call up the safety plan in here, these are all the components that go with that safety plan. And you notice the third column here is where you identify if that's a basic item or a review item. So in my safety plan, almost everything is a basic item except for the very last, and that is a review item. And in the review item, these are the pieces that I have for that. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces. And for each piece, I can identify a target for the amount of time that I want that to be completed in after the client comes into service. So that's how you set up a review item. If I were to go to a work plan, which is basically all review items, this is the component for developing safety plans for the clients. So it's basically a validation. I want my staff to indicate if they've done that and the number of days they can get it done in is a target for housing and administrative. So you might come up with some good ideas how you would use work plans. Once you set up work plans in here, you designate them as default work plans for the shelter on this tab here, settings page 2 in the system parameters, and down here for your shelter, you would identify which work plan you want completed. So that'll contain a certain amount of steps for clients who come into shelter. And for any registered program, if I go down to where we set up the registered program codes, which are here, you notice the very last column here is labeled work plan. And here's where I can specify what work plan I want created for those clients. So that is the changes made to the service plans, and more to the fact that we've added a work plan as a designation for a service plan. That's an addition. We've also added service plan components called review items. Lastly, what I probably want to also just point out to you is, again, if I'm looking at the service plan component page where those are set up, the other thing we've done is you can change, it used to order by the code that you set it up on here, so it would be ordered in alphabetically. In this version now you can change the ordering, so if you want this to appear, if you want the admin to appear above housing, you simply can move it up or down the list here. And if you're talking about review items, the same thing is true with the each of the subcomponents in here. So you can change the way that they order simply by moving these up and down the list. Anyway, that's a fairly quick look at the changes made to the service plans. It's really exciting that we have work plans available now for you to use. As I said, a lot of places have been requesting such a tool, and it's now available to you. If you have any questions about that, of course, get in touch with me and I'll cover that directly with you and walk you through any steps if you need that too.